Bake Club, welcome to another Teach Me Something. This week, one of my favorite all-time humans, she has been a family member of mine for almost as long as I've been in New York City. I'm gonna start crying. She is my sister. She has been through life with me on so many different levels, and she has invited me along in her own life. She's a Milk Bar alum. She's one of my greatest friends. She's an insanely talented pastry chef. You need her in your life because not only is she the warmest, sweetest human that I know, but she is one of the most talented pastry chefs in this country and beyond. She helped me build the empire that is now Milk Bar and has claim to so much fame. So much further beyond that. Bake Club, welcome Helen Jo Leach. Hel, how are you?
So great to see you.
Oh my gosh, reporting live from Kansas City, Kansas, huh?
Oh, Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, Missouri. I always forget. I hear Kansas City and I always forget that there's a Kansas City, Kansas and a Kansas City, Missouri. They're not too far away, but you're on the Missouri side of Kansas City.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come and visit.
I'm about to just get in the car and get on a road trip at this point. We should have just said, I'll meet you in the middle, ready, set, go. Where do we think is halfway between the middle of New York City and Kansas City, Missouri? Somewhere we'd make awesome, that's for sure. We'd be there together. Okay, Hal, what are you going to teach us today?
I was going to teach you about peanut butter and jelly mochi bites and
PB&J mochi bites.
PB&J mochi bites.
Okay, why PB&J mochi bites?
Well, it's kind of a complicated answer, even though it's also simple. I really love mochi. I grew up eating Korean rice cakes and also mochi, which is Japanese. And I just really like the chewy gooiness of it. And my dad actually used to, take mochi, just plain mochi, and put it in a skillet just to get it, a little seared, a little gooey, and just like let us eat it. And that was just like one of my favorite things.
And so like gooey in the center, crispy on the outside is the way you love to eat your mochi or your rice cakes. I'm with you.
And yeah, I've had like rice cake and mochi at like, Korean celebrations because like that's the thing that you celebrate with. You have rice cake, which is also called duck in Korean. And a lot of times it's at the Korean New Year, which could be either in January or February, depending on the lunar calendar. And it's just something I grew up with, and I just, I've always enjoyed just the nuances of the texture. It's very, very distinct texture. And say in Portland, Johnny and I went to a Hawaiian restaurant, and we had this butter mochi cake. And I was just like obsessed with it after that. I was just like, what is this? It's like buttery, it's chewy and gooey, and I just really wanted to like play around with that whole concept of, having mochi and cake in one. And so I tried to make my own hybrid of a recipe as well.
PB&J flavored, which I think is super clever.
Thanks. Well, I think also just being, in the Midwest, just being, I'm also from Chicago, so being back in my roots of the Midwest, I wanted to like just go somewhere that was very cozy and like very straightforward, something that everyone just knows what it is and is familiar with. Maybe you grew up eating it and loving it, and that's just something I wanted to like put into this mochi cake.
I love it. The PB&J is totally like the comfortable invitation into something you may or may not know. If you don't know about mochi, you're about to know, because to Helen's point, like if you like texture at all, if you like gooey, it's not fudgy, it's like gooey and chewy. If you like a good gummy bear type of chew, but in this really, really, really interesting like rice flour cakey form. The first time I had butter mochi in Hawaii, same thing, my mind was totally blown. And I love that you've like brought all of these points of inspiration into one brilliant bite, the PB&J mochi bite.
Yeah, I'm excited because I've been doing some recipe testing with it, and it was, there's no gluten in the recipe, and so, it wasn't rising, and I was like, well, let's try a different kind of vessel that we bake with, and it was like a smaller bite seems to raise, and like bake better, just because the walls are like, it's not so far apart where you have a middle that's just gonna sink down.
Yeah.
And then the donut mold has that middle. Yes. Yes.
Well, I got 2 small molds.
Oh, awesome.
So smaller molds is better for this recipe so that you really get a fluff, but you still get a fudginess and a chew.
Fudginess and chew, and then I like to bake it so that there's a little crispiness, and as it sits, I've done a little bit of R&D with it where
there are humans in your home right now. Who are they?
We had a crisis.
Oh my gosh, what's the crisis? Do we need more bubbly water?
She's okay though.
She's all right.
Wait, Perry. Okay, Bake Club. This is the incredible Perry. Helen, you can follow her on the gram at Helen Jo Mama. She's a mama to many people, but especially to this amazing, brilliant little thing over here. This is Perry, and there's Johnny over. Well, there he is. Johnny Leach, who is a chef. So talk about like a dynamic duo or trio here. We've got savory, we've got sweet, and we've got a whole lot of inspiration in Perry in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and also, will you all like give us a very quick lowdown before we start getting into this? What are you working on right now? So you're R&Ding, but you're R&Ding for a really big thing.
Yeah, so we actually moved out to Kansas City for this awesome opportunity and project. Say like last year.
Yeah, we moved here a week before the shutdown. So the first week of March, we got out here. We moved out for a project at Hotel Kansas City, which is it's a new development in a historic building downtown that we're sort of overseeing food and beverage outlets for. So
amazing. Okay, what is the food personality that you all are bringing to life throughout Hotel Kansas City?
Well, there's so many.
Playfulness.
Yes, definitely.
Does it change? Yeah, does it change like restaurant and experience to experience?
I mean, just fun and playfulness, and just we've spent a lot of time working as closely as we can with what we have in the area. The ranchers, the farmers of the area. So it's just been a great way to have that inform the menus that we're doing. We're also cooking over live fire for the majority of what this project is. So
and that's the town company.
Town company, the restaurant.
Super excited to like work with this open hearth, and I mean like basically the restaurant is centered around this hearth.
Yeah.
And we get to play around with that, and it's a very intimate space, and it's beautiful. And the other outlet that I'd say like this mochi donut is the Lobby Market, and I'd say that outlet is a bit more playful. I could like do things, like the mochi donut, and be like, hey,
more fun off the cuff.
And I still want to like make it approachable, so it's like PB&J. There you go.
I love it. Does Perry get to taste test everything?
Big time. She actually helped out a lot with the Boom Chocolata cookie that Helen makes for the market.
The mochi cake.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
we're gonna do that.
Wait, there's a Boom Chocolata cookie?
Boom Chocolata, she named it, and it had a lot. We recipe tested that for an entire summer, and Helen took it to the hole. It's an amazing cookie that Perry got to name.
Yeah, Perry did a lot of the important taste testing, and we were trying to come up with the name, and she was just like, boom chocolata.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's it.
Boom chocolata. I'm calling, you're going to be my first call every time I try to name something. Also, can we just say, like, it's full on a family affair, y'all. You all met at Del Posto in New York City, right? Like,
Yeah.
a while ago. We're not going to age ourselves at this point.
No, I mean, it was a minute ago.
But I love that the entirety of this project in Kansas City at Hotel Kansas City through multiple different like avenues and outlets is such a great like formation of a full circle of like all the incredible places you've worked, all the things that live like in your upbringing, in your family's history, in those flavors, and then all the things that obviously we all pick up along the way, working our way up in New York City, and that you were all doing it together in this really big project. It just like, it warms my heart. I was so excited when you all told me that you were moving and this is what you were getting after. And you've had a little bit of downtime, but also a little bit of uptime and a little bit of back and forth time. But it sounds like the menu is coming in strong. And also we had Marissa from Yoli on, it must be a month or two ago, but she's so sweet. When I was hanging out with her on the phone, Johnny, she was like, oh yeah, like I was like, do you by any chance know Johnny Leach? And she was like, oh, they've been like, we're in it together, which we just love her. So I love that you're bringing all of your sensibilities and that you have so many different opportunities to show off the different sides of how you think about food and flavor and dining through like a more seated atmosphere, more casual environments, and so on. I cannot wait to see it all come to life.
We're really lucky, and it's great that we're so tied to the hip right now on this project as well, because we love working together, and it's just it's a great experience. We count our blessings, you know.
Yeah, we're extremely lucky, and
Yeah.
we've been enjoying our
We've been enjoying our time very
Yeah.
much. So.
I love it. Okay, let's get in there. We're in the kitchen. Let's do it. Because now I'm staring at these molds and going, I want a PB&J mochi donut. Okay, Hel, give it to me. Talk us through it. How do we get down? How do we make the mochi into this brilliant peanut butter and jelly mochi creation?
So
I'm ready. I got my apron on. I'm ready. I'm fully equipped. I'm ready to learn.
So first off, in this recipe, I'm going to start with getting the flax meal going. I want to make the flax egg. So
Got it. So for Bake Club, for those of you that may not be super well versed in egg-free baking, specifically if you're not making something that's like, I don't know, a chiffon cake, something that doesn't require so many eggs, but uses an egg or two, like in a cookie or a brownie, or maybe like this, a mochi cake, where egg isn't the star ingredient and isn't the star leavener. Flax and a little bit of warm water, we call it flax egg. I don't know. I do the same with you, Hel, of like, you call it a flax egg, not because there's egg in it, but because you're making this slurry that mimics an egg. So we should mix the flax and the water together first.
So that we can like get the other, so we can get this gelling and everything.
Got it. Okay. And it's 1.5 tablespoons of flax.
And then a quarter cup of water.
Of water. Got it. And does the water need to be like warmer, colder? Does it matter?
Warm is good. I originally started doing cold water, and like it takes a bit longer to until maybe warm water.
So it's all about like hydrating the flax in the water, and the warmer the water, the quicker it hydrates.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. So 1.5, I'm gonna use a little teacup. 1.5 tablespoons of flax. And I imagine this is golden flax, the sort of yellowy color. But if you had a darker flax, that would be okay. It's just gonna color your mochi cake a little bit.
Yeah.
Got it.
So you're gonna mix it up a little bit.
It's a funny little thing, Bake Club, the idea of this flax egg, but if you have anyone in your life that's like anti-egg or egg allergy, it's brilliant in so many different things. Okay, so we're gonna set this baby aside, the flax in the water.
And then we're gonna get our dries together. And so or mochiko flour.
Mochiko flour. I don't know if I ever told you this actually, Hel. Before we met, when I was like doing all different kinds of crazy things with Dave at Momofuku, one of the things that we were like working on, his mom sent me a duck machine because I was trying to figure out how to make rice fries. But the theory was that if I made like glutinous rice flour duck fries, they'd be kind of, you know how a really great French fry is like soft in the center and then crispy on the outside. And so I tried making these sort of like reverse engineering mochi through so many different lenses. And the only way that I could really successfully get it to be consistently chewy was using the sweet glutinous rice flour. Have you found anything else beyond this?
I remember the duck days.
The duck days, no. It's a machine that it's like a rice cooker, but it just pounds the rice against the wall until it creates like that ball. Exactly.
Well, actually, the first time I used mochiko rice flour was at Milk Bar.
What were you making? Do you remember?
Yeah, so it didn't go over too well, but we tried making cherry mochi, like actual mochi itself for sambar dessert.
Now I remember that. Did we try to fill it with something? I'm trying to remember what other flavors we tried to put together with the cherry.
Maybe like some black sesame but it was short-lived only because we couldn't get it right per order, like as it was fired.
Oh, that's right. For it to pick up, for our sweet friends at Sambar to pick it up consistently.
Yeah, so
pick it up.
But hey, we tried.
We tried. Okay, so mochiko, we need, and like, by the way, there's not really a consistent substitution for mochiko. Like there are other rice flours and specifically glutinous, like sweet glutinous rice flours, but this is really the tried and true brand.
Yes, I've tried a few other brands, and I like this one because it's really fine powder. It doesn't come off as gritty. So this one that I prefer.
I love that. I love that I have this in my house now. There's gonna be a whole lot of baking going on here. Okay, and how much of this mochiko rice flour do we need?
So you'll have half a cup to a medium-sized bowl.
Got it. Half a cup into the bowl. And does it matter? Like I have a glass bowl. Should it be metal or is glass okay?
Oh, glass is totally.
So a half cup in the mix. I'm ready. What's next?
Next, we're gonna put in a third cup of sugar.
A third a cup of sugar. Can you make mochi without sugar? Or is it just not very flavorful?
I feel like you could. I think it would just be like gooey, and I feel like duck is like rice and salt.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I wonder with the mochiko, like, does it get as like gummy? Like the difference between duck, like a rice cake, and a mochi, there's a gooiness level. I wonder how much of it comes from sugar versus not.
I would say the sugar probably helps with it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so much more chewier.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. Do you think that in this sugar, there's an interchangeability with like light brown sugar or dark brown sugar or molasses or honey?
I think that's definitely
Honey
a
would be
thing.
awesome.
Yeah, it would be really good. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, a honey butter mochi.
Oh yeah.
I would 100% come show up for that donut, but not until I had my peanut butter and jelly mochi. Okay, so a half a cup of the mochiko rice flour, a third of a cup of sugar. What else?
Then we have 1 teaspoon of baking powder.
Baking powder. And the baking powder is for lift and for flavor?
For lift, yeah.
Baking powder. Love it.
And then I have an 1/8 teaspoon for cornstarch.
Got it.
The recipe in which I originally started with, I did use xanthan gum, but I wanted to, switch to, to be more approachable for the home cook who might not have xanthan at home. And so I did substitute cornstarch and it didn't work out. So
got it. And that's just to like help occupy the water, or just to help sort of like keep it as one solid mass?
it is one solid mass. I know in a lot of gluten-free baking, xanthan is often used just to kind of keep everything together.
Yeah,
So
totally. I'm the same way. Whenever I'm like recommending at-home gluten-free baking, I'm always like, you can use a bunch of different almond flours or rice flours, what have you, but it's usually a tablespoon or two of cornstarch, just in like standard butter, sugar, cookie vibes. That cornstarch just, it's like a insurance policy.
it doesn't
Okay.
hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
And then after that, a quarter teaspoon of salt.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Just to help round it out.
yeah.
All right, so we have this bowl of random dry ingredients.
All the random dries, and then you just mix it up, and just I'd say like make sure that there's no clumps of baking powder in there. Just get most of those out if there are any clumps.
Got it. All right, cool. What's next?
Okay, so now we're moving on to the wet ingredients. So got a quarter cup of peanut butter, creamy peanut butter,
Creamy peanut butter, not chunky.
not chunky. And what I used is a Skippy natural peanut butter. It was something that was easy to find it in the groceries here. So I got that one. It does have a little bit of sugar, and so if someone is using an unsweetened peanut butter at home, I would say you can adjust the sugar.
Add a little bit more sugar in with your.
Yeah, and we can like put this all together and have a little taste of it, and just see if you'd like to adjust anything.
Okay, got it. And I can measure my peanut butter straight into my dry ingredients.
So we're going to use a separate bowl for that, and
All right, how much PB do I need?
so you're going to put a quarter cup.
A quarter cup. And I imagine, Hel, the same thing, knowing that you have to be aware of the sugar content. Any other kind of like nut butter, even like a Nutella would work. You just have to remember what has sugar, what doesn't have sugar.
Yeah, definitely. I know like we have almond butter at home too, and it's unsweetened. And so I have tried using that and just, bumping the sugar, the sweetness up a little bit.
Also pistachio butter.
Pistachio would be really good. Black sesame, obviously, that has that peanut buttery.
Ooh, that would be so good. Okay, so 1/4 cup of peanut butter.
Yep.
Very excited about this.
Yes.
Okay. Woo! This is gonna be good. All right, what's next?
Next up is the quarter cup of melted.
A 1/4 cup of PB, and then another 1/4 cup of butter, unsalted.
Unsalted, and it goes into your butter.
Okay.
Your peanut butter.
Butter on butter.
Yep.
Butter on butter, I'm into it. Awesome, what's next? Your sous chef's doing a great job. It's a real power play over there.
So next up, we have 3 tablespoons of water.
Got it. And I imagine like this available water, part of that is what's going to hydrate the rice flour, because fat isn't going to hydrate it the way that water is, right?
Yeah, and also, so there's 3 tablespoons of water, and then it goes into 3 tablespoons of coconut milk. And I guess like, because I had full fat coconut milk at home, I believe if you have a light coconut milk, you could probably just do.
I got it. You could do a full 6 tablespoons if you have the light, but I don't either. I have the full fat. And why coconut milk here, Hel?
I think I just liked it because of the body that it gave, and also I tried using an almond milk before, and it ended up being really, there was a lot of additives, and I know that they all kind of range between almond milks, you know, like
Interesting.
different stabilizers, and I didn't know how it would affect the bake, so I tried to just go with something more pure like coconut.
Got it. I like that. I feel like coconut milk gives like a relative bridge of like peanut butter, butter, rice flour. Like it's something that feels like from a flavor and fat standpoint harmonizes. But I also get that if you don't have coconut milk, you could use like a whole milk or a half and half or an almond milk or a soy or an oat or something like that. Just being aware of the flavor of each of those things is going to kind of bring a different balance to the overall PB&J intensity.
Yeah. And also sometimes there, you know, if the almond milk is sweetened or not, then you have to kind of adjust that too. So
yes, got it. Okay, so I have like this very brilliant smelling and looking bowl. My bowl looks like it looks like Tiger Moments. Look at it in there.
Oh yeah, that's what ours looks like.
It looks like tiger butter if you are picking. Yeah. There it is.
Nice.
All right.
So now we got our tiger butter. We're going to add
we can't reveal.
Yeah. Half a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar.
Got it. And is this acid for the baking powder or is it also just for the flavor?
Actually both. I did want to help just bring that extra lift because I know that it will like combine with the baking powder, which also has baking soda in it, and just to kind of like give that lift while baking, and then yeah, just to give a little bit of acidity.
Got it. Okay, so half a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, and then
half a teaspoon of vanilla extract.
Vanilla. So presumably if you wanted to, after you crushed these PB&J mochi bites, if you wanted to do other flavors, using extracts as a support or as a flavoring element is totally acceptable.
Totally acceptable. Like maple's good.
Ooh, maple honey butter mochi donuts. I mean, oh, that's good. But vanilla here is sort of to like bridge that. Vanilla and peanut butter kind of go hand in hand. Vanilla just makes peanut butter taste more like peanut butter, right?
Totally.
Ooh, all right. Now I'm very into this mixture.
It should by now smell very peanut buttery and sweet and
yummy.
Yes.
Yeah, it smells impossible to resist.
So at this point, we're gonna grab our Flax Egg.
Oh, right. This thing over here, which has gotten like fully, it's almost solid.
Yeah.
Almost looks like mustard.
Oh, yeah.
It totally looks like hydrated mustard. You're right. It has a funny smell to it, but it also is almost, don't be offended by this bake club, but it's almost snotty the way that an egg is when you crack it, where you're like, oh, there's the yolk, there's the white kind of thing. Yep. Okay, and I add the flax egg into my wets.
So we're gonna add that as the last part of the wet ingredients.
All right. Oh, that's also really interesting. Flax is such a great emulsifier. You see really quickly the second you add it in that any sort of separation of the fats and the liquid has gone away because they're now all just one beautiful mixture.
Yeah. So at this point, we're going to add the wet to the dries.
So wets go into the dries. Okay. And it's just kind of like a little at a time, stir, stir, stir.
I just drop it all in.
Boom. Boom.
there you go.
Start stirring.
Thanks, Johnny.
And it should you should be able to keep stirring and let it come together, and just all the little dry pockets out.
Got it. And because this is gluten-free, we're not really worried about over mixing, what have you.
Yeah, you can just keep going until you feel it's nice and smooth.
Got it. This is such an interesting batter. It's like somewhere between a dough and a batter. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's viscous, but it's still somewhat fluid.
Yep.
It also smells incredible. Okay.
Leading to my next bite, because we're gonna taste it to make sure that it's seasoned to our liking.
My girl. I can really smell the peanut butter and like the effect that the sugar, a little bit more sugar has on peanut butter, where it kind of just sharpens it from a odor standpoint. Oh, okay. Real talk. You could just sell this as peanut butter cookie dough.
Freeze it and spin it in an ice cream machine.
100%. Just sell it as like a fluid. You know how, look, did you see, I just like went like this, like I'm eating a bowl of cereal. Like I was just supposed to taste it for function, but I'm about to begin. This is delicious. Ooh.
Yeah, point if you wanted to, make it a little saltier, you can, drop a pinch of salt, or if based on the ingredients that, you used, let's say, it didn't have enough sugar, you can drop a little more sugar in there and just
Got it. You can play the balancing act of, this is your peanut butter moment. Your jelly moment comes in after the fact. So this is where you start to sort of play the balancing act.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So
What happens next?
And then I have these mini silicone molds.
Ooh. Okay, so what do you think? I have these silicone babes. I have this metal. Do you have a preference?
I've only used the so far the silicone, and I feel like let's go with the silicone.
Great. And what do you think if someone doesn't have this at home, though these days online you can get stuff relatively quickly, like a little mini muffin pan or something like that?
Exactly. And this is what this is. It's just they're separate cups, and they're made of silicone.
Got it.
I did do a test round with just regular mini paper cups, and mini cupcake.
Got it.
Mold.
And that was fine.
Yeah.
Helen liked the silicone the most because it retains more of the moisture when it's cooking.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Into the paper mold.
Exactly. And this definitely, it's pretty fatty, so it might come out of the paper a little bit. But I did both ways, and they both tasted the same. I do think that you're obviously you get to reuse this too, but
that's true. Now, if someone didn't have a small little pan like this, what would happen if they poured it into like a little loaf pan or an 8x8 pan? It would be delicious. It would just be much more dense.
Yes, and actually we first started doing a PB&J bar, and we baked it in a loaf pan, and tasted great and everything, but it didn't get that it would just dip a lot because obviously there's no gluten to kind of rise, especially in the middle. There's a lot of weight from all the fat in there, and so the center would just kind of dip, and
So
just wouldn't.
But maybe something to eat like in the dark on movie night, not something that you're serving the way that you are going to serve these PB&J mochi bites if you go in this route.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Also,
this
better texture the smaller it is.
Yeah, I think it'll be better texture with the donut mold, because there's that centerpiece that kind of is also a wall.
Totally.
Make it rise and cook.
I see what you mean. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. You get more texture on the outside, but also on the inner ring as well.
And then this one too, being that it's a smaller surface in the middle to come up.
Yeah.
won't dip as much, and the loaf pan does work. It's just a little gooier in the middle. It doesn't like maybe a little
It's
under.
more like if you've made it this far into the teach me something and you're realizing, holy smokes, I don't have this. It's like you're gonna be fine no matter what you do with it because it's delicious. But
Yeah.
okay, do I grease this?
No greasing.
No greasing. Okay. What do I do? Talk to me. Put it on a pan.
So yeah, you'll put it on a pan, and then since you're using the donut mold, I would use the piping bag to pipe into the mold. Yes.
I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a little at home Midwest, my Midwest girlfriend. I'm gonna do a little Ziploc baggie piping. Okay. And what would you do if you didn't do donut mold? What do you do with those silicone cups? You spoon it in?
What I did was I literally took one heaping spoonful, and I believe this is a teaspoon, and just drop it in.
Got it.
It is.
And this recipe makes about 12 small bites worth, right?
This one makes about 20 pieces of mini mochi bites.
Oh, cool.
And I'd say, I guess we'll find out how many of those mini donuts come out. But
I guess it depends. And do I fill the molds? Am I filling them kind of to the top?
so you'll leave a little bit of space because it will rise. So say like leave like an 1/8 to a 1/4 of an inch.
Okay. Here I go. Let's see if I still got my piping skills.
Still got it.
I still got it, my friends. Back in the days of like Minyard D's station at fine dining. Okay. Oh my God, these are going to be adorable.
Yeah.
Kind of also like a really sweet. How long do they keep? Could you put this in like a holiday cookie platter situation?
Oh, totally. So, with all the recipe testing we were doing, I would let it sit out at room temp in a container, and it would last for up to like 3 days. And
oh wow!
Mary would take it to school for a snack.
Oh my gosh! First of all, luckiest child around. Also, because this dough is so, to your point, fatty, not in a bad way, in a good way. I find it super duper forgiving in piping.
Oh yeah, it shouldn't be hard at all. It's like soft enough to come out of the piping bag, and then you can also obviously like if you miss, you can push it right back into
yes.
the
You can totally like coerce it down, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I have my dough, my amazing PB mochi dough situation. I think they're piped. You're right. I could totally go another round. I have what, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6. So I have 18 here, but I bet I could go another. I bet I could get 24 little donuts.
Mini donuts. Very nice. Those look good.
Okay. I know. Look at me looking for validation for my sweet health. Okay. And then what happens? These babes go in the oven?
Yeah. So then I just give it a little bit of a tiny tap, just so that if there's any like, yeah, there you go. Just because like you can, at least what I've done, like you can see like it's kind of like domey, and so because I had been spooning them into the little molds, and so just
Got it. Platinum.
down a little bit, and then you have to have the oven ready at 350.
I got you. I never remember to turn on the oven these days. I think it's because when you work in a kitchen, you walk in and turn the oven on. You don't really think about it, and then it's always on. Or at least that's our excuse when we're in the home kitchen too. Be okay with forgetting to preheat. So the oven at 350 for how many minutes?
So For the mochi bites, I do it for 8 minutes, and then I check and turn it, and then another 8. But let's do that for the mini donuts and see how they look.
I'll start at 8 and then we'll figure out from there. And I'm looking for like golden, they'll poof a little bit to your point, they'll expand, they'll rise. And I'm looking for a little bit of like a toasty golden brown.
Yeah, it'll get toasty, golden brown, and it will crack a little bit too.
Okay.
It's totally fine. I like to get it to a point where like you can tell it's getting a little bit caramelized and
Got it.
and as it sits after it's all baked and as it sits, just kind of like a banana bread, it'll kind of like become a little more mochi like each day. You'll notice.
Oh, interesting.
The first day it's a little crispy on the outside and there's mochi, texture, but the next day you can see.
Oh, you almost want to serve these at least 24 hours after you bake them.
Yeah, and you can wait to like top it off too.
Interesting. Okay, do you have any finished ones you can show us?
I do.
Because I want to see how the jelly moment, and like I want to know what I'm driving to Kansas City, Missouri for, coming in hot.
So I did a few of these bites and I put a little bit of the raspberry jam glaze and then the oat peanut topping on top.
Oh gosh. So it's sort of like soft and chewy with a raspberry glaze. So it's sort of like bright, acidic moment, and then some like little oat clusters.
Yeah, a little bit of like oat peanut clusters on top. There should be a little crunchy. And then just saw this morning too. One of Perry's favorite fruits is raspberries, and so I mean you can literally put a raspberry on top.
Oh, you could totally almost like garnish like you would a lemon tart, where you put like the fresh raspberry that you glaze or what have you. Helen, I am so excited to see my PB mochi bites come out of the oven. So it sounds like I could jam them up. What is that?
This is, sorry to interrupt. So this is the donut from the hotel that we sell in the lobby market, and this is the larger donut mold.
Oh my gosh. So you could go much bigger than this donut mold.
Oh yeah. You can totally go bigger than that.
And what is that? It's the same PB mochi in it, but then just with a different raspberry like glaze ganache type situation.
Have it. You want a bite? Go ahead, have a bite.
So the glaze is a little different because we do add like a little cocoa butter to help it set, and so I wanted to simplify this recipe a bit more, just so that you didn't have to have all these rando ingredients.
Totally.
But the one that we do at the hotel, we do glaze with a specific recipe, and then we do drizzle a little bit of raspberry jam over it.
I mean, I'm coming in hot. That's all I have to say. I cannot wait. My PB mochi donut bites, my little babies are I can start to smell them a little bit in the oven. I can't wait. I have my timer on. I have some jams and jellies that I'm gonna mess around with when they come out of the oven and cool. And I'm gonna think about texture, fruit garnish, and everything in between. And now I'm like, I gotta go out and get some bigger donut molds because I don't want to make little donuts anymore. I only want big donuts.
Oh yeah, I mean, they're great so you can do the mini ones for like little parties and stuff, little bites. But yeah, definitely, it's nice to have a full-on donut too.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, Helen Jo, you are the greatest. You have definitely opened up my repertoire, our repertoire, into mochi donut, and all the different flavors that could fall in between. I am so excited for you and Johnny and Perry. I cannot wait for you to get to feed the masses of Kansas City, Missouri, and beyond. You know that I'll be there with bells on. Thank you so much for teaching us everything about PB&J mochi bites and everything in between. I love you. I cannot wait to see you and squeeze you. And Perry, you and I have an eating date together, my friend.
You hear that?
You got a date with Christina.
What is it?
You guys are gonna go eat together.
You tell me.
Only me and Christina?
Yeah.
And maybe Butter. Do you think Butter should be invited?
Oh.